Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or VOD, Twitch or YouTube, while you're posting your height and favorite picture on Twitter, verifying 600 plus players for Low Ink, or waiting until the last possible minute to register your team for Low Ink because you're a butt face, whatever it is that you're doing right now, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. I find it interesting. If you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, you don't get to see all the chat that happens building up to the start of the podcast. So the first thing you see is somebody calling out Stu for making furry jokes during a commentary set. So I'm not going to explain the context behind that. That's what you get for not watching this live. um, Thank you for those look like European money of some sort there, Sky, the demon. Before I get into anything I've written down, coffee. I do look at the chat while I'm talking, but I don't always like actually sit down and read it because I know if I like read the chat while I'm talking, what I'm saying on the page is gonna bleed over, and it's just gonna sound like a total mess. So I don't always, but I always go back and watch podcast episodes later that night and look specifically at the chat and see all of the stuff that I missed. Coffee asked a question on Monday that I thought was interesting, and I want to talk about. He asked, "Do I think do I think Corona or COVID has been a positive thing for the Splatoon community?" And I'll answer that really quickly. Yes, in the sense that it has forced people to focus on esports because that's the only thing they could really do. They can't go outside, can't do actual physical sports. So yeah, I think the COVID shutdown has been really good for Splatoon. The community is really strong for that. I say also it's bad for the community because people are dying and millions of people are stuck with a virus that will possibly lead to serious side effects down the road for them. So I don't know. This is a little bit of a trade-off there at some point, I assume. Blue, I know. I would assume you're streaming right now, so I would assume you're not even. If you're listening to this, that's and streaming at the same time. That's really interesting. I'm probably gonna raid you at the end of this, anyways. Quick news notes. Little Squid League 8 finally is going to happen unless some other tournament pops up and kicks it out of its spot yet again. That is going to be November 28th, next Saturday, not this upcoming Saturday because that's low ink. 12 p.m. Eastern Time. When I checked last night, 9 teams had already registered, which is a good thing. If you're a Gamma bracket or below team and you're tired of going 2-4 in low ink playing Little Squid League, you're going to be playing against other teams directly at your skill level. That's a wonderful thing. Very wonderful thing. Tremendous. Today, I will be previewing the upcoming November Low Ink, which is this weekend. And I'm going to post the link to that early and often because it is very important that you guys register. It is Thursday. You only have 2 days left to register. And a lot of people wait. They wait. And what happens is we spend Saturday morning, instead of answering your questions in help desk, we verify people. So here we go. There's the link. If you are playing in this upcoming Low Ink and you haven't signed up yet, click that link, fill it out. It takes 1 minute. A minute 30 seconds if you're a moron, but I mean, I don't judge. We've all been there at some point in our lives. And I'll post that throughout. Also, I will put this in the YouTube link description. YouTube description in the link. I'll put the link in the YouTube description. If you're watching this on YouTube, I don't forget about you. Unless when we talk about furry content behind the scenes before the stream actually starts. I'm going to be talking about new teams making their first appearance in Low Ink, teams I have questions about, which teams will be climbing the standings over last month, and my new and improved top 10 teams who have the potential to win Low Ink. In fact, I'm doubling down and saying no team outside of my top 10 will win Low Ink. That is a pop gun guarantee. And if I'm wrong, then I'll wear another maid outfit on Monday. Not that I did that last time or anything. But first, a lot of teams have their Twitter bio set to say that they are around the Div 3 plus skill level. Which, funny enough, a lot of those teams also register for Low Ink. And get accepted into Low Ink. I point this out because it's been a joke going on Twitter now for the past couple of days. I kind of made a joke about it on Monday's episode of the Popcast as well. But in sense, it's fine. People are allowed to kind of judge themselves, rate their own skill level. Are a lot of these teams that say they're Div 3 actually Div 3? Hell no. And if Looty Divs ever got updated again, I always say, only 24 teams get a Div. And if there's 60 teams claiming they're Div 3, a good chunk of them are going to be stuck in Div 5, and then they're going to disband because they're like, oh, reality sinks in. Or they can fight reality, like certain people in the White House are doing. But this, if you listen to a lot of episodes of the podcast, which I know you do, it's no surprise that I'm not the biggest fan of Looty Divs in general, in the sense of how we take them and overuse them for a ranking system for the entire community, which doesn't make any sense and doesn't work at all. So when a team says they're Div whatever, I don't care. It means nothing to me personally. It should mean nothing to you guys at this point either. But Low Ink being a tournament for Div 4 and below teams only kind of leaves that question up in the air of, if you were Div 3 at some point, when is it official that you have proven that you have sucked enough to where you are now back down to the Low Ink skill level to be let back into the tournament? And I say Looty Divs mean nothing. That's not really true. If you were Div 3 the past season, Div 3 plus, then it's kind of assumed that you weren't bad enough to be playing in Low Ink. I say bad like Low Ink players are bad. It's not. You haven't proven that you are at a Low Ink skill level in a while. Now, what people are allowed to ask for exemptions, and exemptions are important. And a lot of times, exemptions do get granted based on certain situations because everything is a case by case basis. But it's just funny the egos that we have. The Twitter bios. Oh, well, I'm a Div 3 plus, and you say that because you scrimmed a team that was Div 5 like 7 months ago, and you beat them in a scrim. How you beat a team in a scrim, I have no idea how that works. You literally won more games than another team in practice. But then you think, well, we beat them in a scrim, so we're obviously a whole div above them. So that this is where we are estimating ourselves to be. I could go off on a whole rant about this. My point being, the low ink help desk / exemption request is the only place in the Splatoon community where people actively campaign for the fact that they suck at the game. You see people saying all kinds of things like, "Oh, I'm overrated. I haven't played in X amount of months. I was never good to begin with. I always got carried in everything that I've ever done." And then you go in their Twitter and it's the complete opposite of that. You know, they're just beating their chest about every single thing they've done. Yeah, and throwing shame at every single solo queue teammate, because anytime you lose a game in solo queue, it's always your teammate's fault, not the fact that you focused on getting kills and never touched the objective once. It's your teammate's fault for you losing. But again, asking for exemptions is fine. It's going to be and is encouraged. What team do you think this month is going to win Alpha Bracket? Do you think I wasn't going to get to that at some point? You think I don't have like a whole notes just about that? We're getting there. We're getting there. Vinto, just take a moment. We'll get there. I want to point out 2 pet peeves of mine when it comes to the exemption requests for lowing. Number 1 is people that get denied, and then now if you get denied, most people are just like, okay, I understand. Because if you're asking for an exemption request, in the back of your mind, you should know that you are actually too good for this tournament, and being denied is just kind of that confirmation of your own thoughts that you are supposed to be banned from this tournament. So most people are just like, okay, thanks for letting me know. And it never hurts to ask. Because the worst thing that you could say, or the worst thing you can be told is no. It's not a death sentence. It's not being banned from the whole community. It's fine. The problem is the 1 or 2 people that go on Twitter or go to general chat or go to help desk and try to like drum up supporters to like, they kicked me out. Can you believe it? Everyone here knows I suck. Isn't that right, guys? And then someone will be like, yeah, why'd they kick this person out? I'm not going to name who, but last month, somebody went on Twitter, and this was, if you know, Low Ink was happening at the same time as Speed Ladder. Someone went on Twitter and was like, who wants to play in Speed Ladder with me to prove that I actually suck enough to be in Low Ink because they banned me? And it's like, how does that help your case? How is that a positive thing? It proves that people don't understand the point of Low Ink. Why does Low Ink exist? What does Low Ink do for the community? Is it for new teams / lower level teams to build themselves up, to play against other teams around their skill level so that they can eventually graduate from the lower level? Or is it for this other group of teams that I'm about to mention? These players that submit exemption requests, and their results obviously show they are way too good for Low Ink. But the excuse that they use is, I haven't played in X amount of months. What? How is that an excuse? You haven't played the game in 3 months? That means that you've automatically, forget all the other results that you've had recently in this year alone. all the accomplishments you've ever done, if you just stop playing the game for 2 months, you're just going to be allowed back into low ink? I don't understand that. If you really have fallen off the face of the earth, as far as your skill level is concerned, excuse me, here's what you do. Go play in scrims for like a week or two, or heck, 3 weeks of scrims. You'll be fine. You'll be back to being the player that you were. The fact that mid-level players will stop playing the game for a couple of months, and their thought is, well, the only way I can get back to being the player that I used to be is to beat up in teams in low ink. Why? That's your thought process? Do you understand how you come across like that? It's it's hilarious. It's hilarious to me because we, the lower level community, are constantly being told that if you want to get better, you need to play in these tough tournaments and get your butt completely destroyed by these teams that are way better than you, and you're supposed to the VOD review that, because that 1 minute KO, you can get a lot of information out of that VOD review for some reason, but that's how you're supposed to do it. That's how my team did it coming up, and that's how you're supposed to get good too. Those same people telling us that are the same ones trying to come back into low ink when they stop playing the game for 2 months. They don't want to do that either. They, but we get told to do that, right? Because that's how we're supposed to improve. But at the same time, all these other teams, all these other players, they want to take the easy route. They want to be like, well, I haven't played in 2 months. I suck now. Let me go into low ink and just destroy that. That's how I get my sea legs back under me. That is such a joke. That is such a joke, people. Low ink, in fact, lower level tournaments in general, is not rehab for mid-level players. It's not. And again, if you ask for an exemption, it's totally fine to ask for an exemption. But me personally, if the only excuse you have is I haven't played the game in X amount of months, that's you've automatically lost me there. Like I don't care. Just go do scrims. Go play in higher level tournaments and get destroyed there for a couple of weeks, and then you'll be fine. But it's not rehab for you. The purpose of this is to build up new teams and to help lower level teams improve. Your goal, as anybody listening to this podcast, is to be banned from low ink. This is a tournament you should want to play in, to have fun, but it shouldn't be your goal to be in low ink forever. Like, eventually, you want to be too good to where I never talk about you. If I never talk about you on the Popcast, that means you're too good here. That's a great thing. That's what you should strive for. You shouldn't want to come back down. If you win SAC, you shouldn't want to play in Ash Cup. You shouldn't want to play in low ink. It is what it is, though. But I will say this. The one thing I really like about low ink, as far as the past several tournaments are concerned, the winners are all teams that have played in a lot of low inks, and they found a way to grind up the right way, which is playing other teams at their level and going up over time. West Broadway Grillers have been in the lower level community for over a year. Xanadu played in so many low inks before they finally won it. Splatter Swim, what a success story is Splatter Swim for the lower level community. Luau, kind of an outlier. They won in their second low ink appearance, but still, if you look at the players on Luau, they have a lot of experience playing in low ink before they actually formed and made Luau. Kind of like how we're going to see Valhalla, who is going to be playing this month for the first time, which is made up of a bunch of former Vitalized players. For Luau, Sir Skit played in a lot of low inks with Tropics. And I remember talking to the Luau players on a Popcast interview after they won low ink. And Coffee even mentioned, like, one of our reasons for playing in this low ink was to win it for Sir Skit, who has played in a lot of low inks leading up to that. That's great. That's really great. And that's what this low ink is about. And I don't mean to. I don't know. That's just something that's been annoying me for a while, and I wanted to get that off my chest. Again, if you want to ask for an exemption, that's great. But if you get denied, just take it. Just take it. That's a good thing. You being denied from low ink, you won. I know you would much rather win low ink and get banned that way. But if you get denied or shut down from low ink, that means you've graduated from the low level community. Congratulations. Start grinding, start working on SAC, then start working on Midway. And then after Midway, disband because there's nothing you can do after that. But we'll get to that at some other point. Has a pickup ever won low ink? I feel like the answer to that is yes. Uh, Actually, I think the Primera team that won low ink was a like half Primera, half saxophone duck squad. So I guess technically that was a pickup, and that was back in. I want to say that was May when that happened. And I mean, if you look in the early days of low ink, like teams were winning. Teams like it used to be a trend to where so many teams were winning low ink in their first ever low ink appearance. But then again, that was back when there were like very few low ink to have at this point. We've had 2 years worth of low ink data. So now it's just now recently where we're starting to see some teams that have uh, not traditionally made alpha or top cut that are starting to like make it more consistently and starting to win. And I'll get a little bit into that later when I go into my top 10, but we haven't seen. I think the days of us seeing a pickup team winning low ink are over. The trend has been consistent name brand teams are winning low ink. At least for the past four low inks, we've seen that kind of a trend. Actually, past five, Trick or Treat was a traditional low ink team as well, who has a lot of experience there. Don't ask for an exemption because you think you're too good. Yeah, that's that's a great point. That's always a that's always a good one. All right, that's enough yelling at people. Okay. New teams of interest in this low ink. Teams that are going to be making their first ever appearance that I've noted and I'm going to be interested about. First off is Enigma. Um, these guys just missed the exemption cutoff last month. They did have a player that was had Div 3 experience, but that was a couple of seasons ago. And since we look in things by case to case, we were able to look at that and realize that this player was fine for low ink. Enigma has played in some other tournaments leading up to this low ink, so it's not like they're a completely brand new team. But it is made up of some former members of Cosmic Inc., if you guys remember that team. They played in Testing Grounds, Mido Cup. If I were to project these guys, I would say the beta bracket potential. I would be surprised if they made alpha. I think they meet. I feel like they got some players on their team that have a lot of talent to make an alpha bracket. I just don't know if they've been together long enough to have the synergy to crack into alpha bracket just yet because um, it's going to be really hard to make alpha bracket this month. I know I said that last month. I was completely wrong. But just seeing the teams that have actually signed up this time around, it's going to be tough. Xylo. Here's an example. Xylo is a brand new team to Low Inc. And these guys look really tough. They've been playing in a bunch of tournaments, SOS, Testing Grounds, Ink for Pink. Most recently they lost to Ink Fluency, but I've seen them beat Persistence in the past. I think I've seen them lose to Xanadu, but I feel like I've seen them also beat Xanadu a few weeks after that. So Xylo's going to be a tough team to enter here. I would project them to be an alpha bracket team, honestly, in their first low link tournament. The notable player here is Haya. the really cracked and insane Slayer that used to be uh, on the Eurobeats team, joining up with these players. So this is going to be a tough team, a new team showing up here. I don't know. I don't think they're going to win Low Inc. I don't have them in my top 10, but I would be surprised if they did not make Alpha Bracket, just based off of the results that they have. The other team of interest that is new, and hasn't this team hasn't signed up yet, but my assumption is that they will if they find a good sub. Toxic Haze, the two words that keep Luau players up at night. Because this is the only team to beat Luau in Ash Cup 6. They didn't make Top Cut in Ash Cup 6. And they didn't beat Eloptic either that was in their group. But, it's just made up some good players here. Players that my team, Destiny Troops, is familiar with. Because we traditionally borrow one of those guys or two to help us out in a scrim or whatnot. This team is, from my personal experience, they got a lot of raw talent. It seems like they don't know what the heck they're doing, but they're so skilled talent-wise that they make up for that. So you got to think, okay, if these guys get more synergy and more of an understanding of how to play a competitive game versus competitive solo queue, which we see a lot of new teams kind of do, Toxic Haze could be scary. I don't know where to project these guys. Honestly, I think it's probably a cop out for me to say that they're an alpha down to gamma team, but we have to see them play against actual teams other than just the few that they played against in Ash Cup 6. You're a fanboy of Toxic Haze. I am too. There's some good folks over there. My top 3 teams who will make Gamma who didn't last month. Number 3 is going to be Ink Eye, which I found out there was a team that played in Checkpoint 1 that went by the name of Thanksgiving Dinner. Which you guys told me was actually Ink Eye in disguise. Well, that team did really well. They finished third in that tournament, or tied for third in that tournament, making Top Cut. They finished 34th in their group last month, but they've a strong showing in other tournaments outside of Low Inc. Usually translates one of my Elmer Fudd translates to better results in the next month's Low Inc. So, good news there for Ink Eye. Number 2 is I Ride, not to be confused with Ink Eye. These guys finished second in Checkpoint 1, and 34th in their group last month. Same thing with Ink Eye. In fact, my number 1 team, Omega Rush, is the team that actually won Checkpoint 1 there. So, I would assume these 3 teams that finished first, second, and third in Checkpoint 1. This is what I'm curious about, is how does that tournament, which is possibly the lowest of the lower level tournaments that we have in this community, how does that translate into Low Inc? I would like to see all 3 of these teams make Gamma Bracket, because that would prove my point of saying the more tournaments you play in outside of Low Inc really helps your case and really helps your standings overall. Actually needs to finish Swiss. That's another point I was going to make. Omega Rush has dropped 2 Low Incs in a row after like the first or second round. I don't know what's up with that, but they did play all the way through both Checkpoint 1 a couple of weeks ago, and they played all the way through the Minnow Cup last week, which is at the same exact time as Low Inc. So hopefully they can get all the way through, and we can see how they do in a more tougher tournament setting. My dark horse team, give me the Inkcraft Cult. They've played in a lot of tournaments. I usually see them in just about every single Little Squid League. They played and they played in Minnow Cup as well. They didn't do too hot, but they played a lot of beta slash alpha bracket teams. Because I looked at the teams they actually played against. So they played some tough teams. In rounds 3 or 4 through 6 of this low ink, they won't face teams that are that strong that they played in Minnow Cup. It'll be more around their speed. So if they can knock off a couple of people in those rounds, it might be enough to elevate them to Gamma bracket. Uh, unless they don't. They make you sad. Oh, well, that's rude of Omega Rush to drop, making you sad like that. How inconsiderate of them. My top 3 teams that made Gamma last month that I would expect to move up to Beta this month. First off, number 3, Aloptic. Now, these guys were eliminated in losers round 1 of Gamma last month as the number 6 seed. So not that's kind of concerning, but uh, making a bracket doesn't matter how well you do on Sunday. It's all about how you do on Saturday. And finishing as the number 6 seed, as a team that has alpha bracket experience like Aloptic has, I feel like they have the potential to move up here. Oh, my wife is coming home. That's why my dog just ran out of the room here. Aloptic also had a decent showing in Ash Cup, beating Toxic Haze. Again, the team that beat Luau. I'm sorry, Luau. I'm going to point that out a lot. it's just something I do. So I feel like Aloptic definitely has the experience to get out of Gamma and back into Beta, if not Alpha bracket, but they just seem to be on a bit of a lull as of now. Number 2, Refurbished Free Inc. These guys finished 3rd in Gamma bracket last month as the number 9 seed, and they did sweep Tooniverse in winners before losing to them in losers bracket. Tooniverse, the team that finished 2nd in Gamma. So Refurbished Free Inc. This is a team that is improving a lot. I don't know a whole heck of a lot about them, but we have seen some good results out of them recently. I believe they made beta bracket before as well, so they do have that experience. My number 1 team that I expect to go from Gamma to beta bracket is going to be Tooniverse. These guys finished 2nd in Gamma last month. Made beta the past 2 months prior to that. And where did I leave my notes? Did make top cut in the Minnow Cup. Now, the Minnow Cup was tower control only, as opposed to something like Low Ink, which is all 4 modes. But nice results there for Tooniverse, and a team that's definitely better than Gamma bracket. Now, whenever they make beta, they don't really make a lot of noise on Sunday, so that'll be something to see. Can they make both qualify for beta and find a way to get a lot of wins so that it's a significant? Well, we shall see. My dark horse team to go to beta from Gamma. Give me Divine Downpour. Yet again, I gave them the same dark horse role last month. They finished 4th in Gamma as the number 10 seed, which means, yeah, finishing 4th is great, but once again, it's the seed that kind of shows how close you were to making it to the next bracket. So Divine Downpour needs to find ways to get some more wins, but they've proven that they're a really good team on Sunday. They just need to pick it up on Saturday, and they'll find themselves in beta bracket. I'm going to close this door real quick. It's the limit noise coming from... Didn't they change their names? I don't know. I try to follow as many teams as possible on Twitter, just so I can stay up to date with like roster changes and team name changes and all that jazz. I don't think I follow Refurbished Free Inc. on Twitter, so I wouldn't know if they have anything significant changed with their team. Or Divine Downpour, I guess is who I was talking about. Or are you guys talking about a Loptic? I don't know what team we're talking about. I'm moving on. Who cares? Top three teams to make beta bracket, or top three teams from beta bracket who will make alpha. Now, this one is more difficult. Jumping from gamma to beta is way easier than jumping from beta to alpha because alpha is stacked. In fact, last tournament, we had two teams that made alpha bracket the tournament prior. One of them ended up stuck in gamma bracket. The other one didn't even qualify for Sunday at all. So it's pretty difficult to stay up at the top there. But my three teams that I think can make the jump from beta. Number 3 is the Krusty Crew. These guys have fallen one game short. Not one match. One game short. 2 tournaments in a row of qualifying for Alpha Bracket. In round 6, they have played Thimbo IHOP and have lost to them 2-1. The same team in the same round, 2 tournaments in a row. So you know that means in round 6 of this tournament, they're going to play Thimbo IHOP, and the winner will move on to Alpha, and the loser will be stuck in Beta. Can the Krusty Crew... I wonder if they VOD reviewed Thimbo IHOP. I wonder if they've looked at those sets and found some weaknesses or something they can exploit to help them get that one win that they need to kind of break the glass ceiling there. But the Krusty Crew... I don't think they did too well in beta, but again, they were so close to making alpha last month. 2 months in a row. We'll see if they can break through that ceiling this time around. Number 2 is going to be Symphony. Every time I put Symphony in my top 10 list, they end up in beta bracket. And when I don't put them in, they make alpha, and they do really well in alpha. So I'm going to do them a solid, and I'm not going to talk about them in the top 10, which means I'm not cursing them, and they're going to actually make alpha again this time around. My number 1 team who's going to make alpha bracket, and this one's kind of cheating, but it's Vento. Now, Vento was technically in gamma bracket last month, and they won it, beating my wife's team, Tooniverse, in a bracket reset. But I don't think they care about winning gamma bracket. They shouldn't. They're a really good team. They finished 5th, tied for 5th in the low ink prior to last month. So I would assume them to just write off whatever happened last month. Teams can have bad tournaments. We can give mulligans there. Let's give Vento a mulligan for last month. They're going to be back this month. They're going to be good. They're going to return to alpha bracket. And if not, then that sucks. My dark horse team to make it. Give me the Ink Strike Inklings here. They finished 3rd in beta last month as the number 7 seed, which means if they want to get in, you have to win 5 wins. 5 wins is a lot for Ink Strike Inklings, but they're proven to be pretty good against other beta bracket teams. So if they get fed a little bit of an easier schedule or a schedule of teams that are around their skill level as well, they could find a way to get 5 wins for sure. For sure. You see them in SOS a lot too. Yeah, Ink Strike Inklings have played in. They seem to show up in a lot of tournaments. I know they play in Ink Theory as well, or the last Ink Theory that I saw. I think that's the last time my team personally played them. All right. Teams I have questions about before we get into my top 10. I have questions about Day Old Sushi. They haven't played in a low ink since May. So, what? That was 6 tournaments ago? 5, 6 tournaments ago? They made top cut in that tournament, but did lose in round 1 to Last Chance. This was back before there was a double elim. It was just single elim, top cut, no alpha, beta, gamma bracket, or anything like that. So my question is for Day Old Sushi is what have they been doing in the past 5 months? I think their roster is a little bit different this time around. We do know that their roster is made up of players that are 25 years old and over. The minimum is 25. So, what kind of weapons are they going to have that highlight their lack of reflexes? um, but they're going to be, they're traditionally a team that can make alpha bracket. I just don't know. I just don't know what to expect out of these guys because we haven't seen them in so long. Kraken Warriors. These guys made alpha bracket last month as the number 16 seed, and they were eliminated pretty quickly. Where will they land now? I would be really impressed if Kraken Warriors can keep a spot in alpha bracket. I would probably put them in that category of teams that take turns. This month they're in alpha, next month they're in beta. There's like a revolving door of about 8 or 10 teams that just kind of take turns jumping back and forth between that. If Kraken Warriors can improve off of this last month, where they just barely made alpha bracket, if they could do it again this month, that'd be really impressive for them, and it would show their standings in the lower level community. If we need to take these guys seriously as a contender to possibly win the low ink in the next coming months or so. Labyrinth X, they made alpha bracket in October after making beta bracket in August. It looks like they're going to be playing again this month. I think I saw them register. So are we going to see again, what category they fall in? Are they going to be a consistent alpha bracket team, or are they going to be a part of the revolving door group where they go back to beta like they were in August? Zero Inc. This was one of the big surprise teams from last month. They made their first alpha bracket and made it all the way to losers round 3. So they played really good on Saturday and then followed that up by playing just as good, if not better, on Sunday. Arguably a team I had in my top 10, honestly, just based off of that one tournament alone, but a bunch of other teams played in new tournaments that Zero Inc. did not, or at least that I didn't see. So that kind of bumped them out. But the question for Zero Inc. was last month a fluke, or is that who this team really is? Are they a legit contender in alpha bracket in every month going forward? This month will kind of decide that. Question for Thimbo IHOP. Back-to-back alpha bracket appearances. But they needed to get that really close win against the Krusty Crew 2 tournaments in a row, both in round 6. Can they? I'm interested in seeing what IHOP does on Saturday versus Sunday. Are they going to make a more comfortable? Are they going to make it more comfortable for themselves and find a way to get 5 wins instead of needing 4 wins with the tiebreaker to help them out there? Which is something we haven't seen at a IHOP at this point. Geek Squids. These guys had a really good weekend. Made top cut in Minnow Cup. And top cut in Ash Cup. And have made... Well, they didn't make Alpha Bracket last time they played in Low Ink. But they did go 5-1 a couple of months ago. Which Geek Squid team are we going to see? Last weekend was the first time I think we could say we saw a consistent Geek Squid team. I say this a lot about them. They play up to the talent of the team they play against, and they play down to the talent of teams they play against. That wasn't the case last weekend. Last weekend, they played up to everybody they played, and if somebody was below them, they didn't mess around with them. They just 3-0'd them and got them out of the way. Is that the Geek Squids team that we're going to see this month? If so, then you got to pencil them into the alpha bracket as well. So you kind of get what I'm talking about here when I say alpha bracket's really difficult to get into. I haven't even got into my top 10, and I probably listed 6 or 7 teams that have definite potential to make alpha bracket yet again. And a lot of these teams that I mentioned probably won't, just because it's so loaded at the top. The last team I want to mention, I have a question about, is Takibi. These guys finished 3rd in Ash Cup 6, but 2 of their players have already been banned from this month's Low Ink, so I'm not sure if they will play or if they will, how much will losing those two players affect them um, in this tournament? Because I don't know how much those two players, how much of a role those two players played into them making third place in Ash Cup. So we shall see. You think it's a pickup? I'm assuming it's a new team. I'm assuming it's a rebranding of Takedown and some Fluorescence players, but maybe it is a pickup. I don't know. We'll find. I guess we'll find out. All right. Before I get into my top 10, there are a few teams I won't be talking about in the top 10. So let's just get them out of the way right now. Last Chance. They didn't play last month because we pretty much banned their entire team except for a few players. So I don't expect Last Chance to make any kind of appearance this time around. Oblivion. These guys finished second in beta bracket last month. I kind of hinted that they might be the next Luau in the future. But sources close to me say that they don't have enough players available for this weekend's tournament. So I don't think we're going to see Oblivion playing. ITOP. Who the hell is that? ITAP. Inkling Technology at Purdue. Not going to be talking about them. They're not going to be playing this weekend. Makes sense. We're close to the holidays. School project deadlines are coming up. There's probably a lot of teams outside of ITAP and Oblivion that are usual low ink regulars that we won't be seeing. Thimbo ITAP that we won't be seeing in this month by itself, but it is what it is. Full disclosure, I did actually have ITAP in my top 10 this time around, but knowing that they're not playing, I'm taking them out and put a new team in their spot. I'm not going to tell you where I had them, though. Last team I'm not going to talk about is Ryzen. They signed up last month, and if they played through, I feel like they would have won the whole tournament. But they didn't check in right before the tournament started. I don't know what that is about, and we haven't really seen any activity from them since then. So my assumption is that Team Ryzen is no more, or they're on hiatus or whatever. So I'm not going to talk about them. If they were to sign up for this tournament, it would just blow everything out of the water because they were pretty good the 2 months that we saw them leading up to this. They merged into some toast. Oh, raisin. Is it really pronounced raisin? I've commentated several matches on stream of these guys. Is it seriously raisin? Because I always just call them Ryzen. I mean, it's got a Z in there. You think it's raisin? Well, they need to learn how to spell the word raisin if it really is raisin. Regardless, who cares? We are getting into the top 10 teams who are going to win low ink. Or, well, one of them's going to win low ink, at least. First, before we get into the top 10, let me kind of break down the rules that I have for this list. And some of the changes that I went through. Because my top 10 list last month got destroyed and was horrible. It was completely awful. In the past, I've left off teams that didn't play in the low ink leading up to this. That's not the case this time around. I did a little bit more research and looked into teams that are going to register. And even if you didn't play last month, but I know you are playing this month, you're probably in this list somewhere if I feel like you're a team that can win. And I'm not just, I don't just go off of low ink results. So I don't just go, well, this team finished second, so now they're 1 and 3 is 2, and these two teams finished 5. There are some teams that did really well in alpha bracket that I don't have anywhere in my top 10. I just don't, because I feel like there's a bunch of other teams coming up that deserve a spot in this top 10 based off of how well they played in other tournaments leading up to this. So let's get into it. Number 10, Inkfluency is coming back. The team that took the September Low Ink by storm, coming out in their first tournament ever, it finished tied for 5th in Alpha Bracket after going 5-1 on Saturday, beating teams like the Bunnies, ITAP, Symphony, and Access Denied, which I believe is now negative. I think I saw that somewhere. Anyways, the problem is that was 2 months ago. And since then, we've only seen them in action once. Last week's swim or sink tourney, where they beat Xylo, which is a good win, but that's it. Now, Xylo is a team I kind of mentioned that I expect to make Alpha Bracket in their first Low Ink. But with that being the only thing on their resume since September, it's enough to make me kind of wary of them. Do they have the talent to win this Low Ink? Oh, sure. Absolutely. Without question. Do they have the depth, experience, and synergy to win this Low Ink? That has been yet to be shown. Regardless, I think this is the best team I have ever listed in the number 10 spot of my top 10. We just need to see more out of them before I can kind of justify putting them up higher. But these mugs are good. Number 9. Epic Gamers Inc. was the Inkfluency of October. A new team seemingly coming out of nowhere to dominate on Saturday. They beat Nova, Labyrinth X, Evening Chickens, Vinto, and the Ravenous Raccoons, finishing second in their group with the second highest opponent win percentage, only loss coming against, who else? Persistence. The only knock is that they didn't really show up on Sunday, being eliminated in losers round 2 by ITAP, or ITOP, as some people would like to call them. The reason I don't put them the reason I do put them above Inkfluency on this list is purely because they played in Minnow Cup and did decently well in that tournament, giving them a little bit more tournament experience under their belt. Now, they did lose to Vinto and the Evening Chickens this time around, but this tournament, once again, was tower control only, and they still managed to find a way to make top cut, losing to Synergy, who finished second overall in that tournament. Just looking at the teams they have beat in their first months of existence, it's obvious that they have the capability of winning Low Ink. Whether they can pull it off on both Saturday and Sunday, though, has yet to be seen. Are Squidsters playing as well? I haven't seen the Squidsters play in Low Ink in a long time. Our third didn't get sleep on Sunday. You know, a part of the whenever I say a team plays well on Saturday and they don't play well on Sunday, it's usually because of a roster issue of some sort. They need a sub or something like that. We usually just don't see the same exact team that plays as well. But hey, you guys were really good on Saturday. If we see that again on Sunday, that'd be pretty scary for some teams. They have to play in Alpha Bracket. Number 8. I've always said that Squid Knights are the best team in Saturday in Low Ink history, and the worst team on Sunday. The problem I've always joked about is that they usually get the number 1 seed in Alpha, then they get upset by the number 16 seed, and then get immediately kicked out of the whole tournament in losers round 1. Last month, however, they got the number 9 seed, and that worked out much better for them, beating Thimbo IHOP, Tyrant Inc., Zero Inc., and only losing to teams that finished first and third. However, they also took they took those two teams to a decisive Game 5 in winners and Game 3 in losers. So for context, the Squid Knights used to be who the Epic Gamers are now. A good Saturday team, but have now proven that they can actually do damage on Sunday as well. If they can find a way to win those game fives and winners and games threes and losers, that might be enough to push them over the edge and win low ink. I think we're done with that. Number 7. Evening Chickens are the first team I have brought in to the top 10 when they won beta bracket the month before. And actually, Evening Chickens are just the second team I have ever put in the top 10 that has never made alpha bracket before. The other being Luau, who won the low ink the first time I brought them into the top 10, placing them at number 4. Now, I'm not saying that Evening Chickens are at Luau's level, but they're getting some good results in tournaments outside of low ink this month. They made top cut in both the Xanadu Tournament Series on Halloween and the Minnow Cup. To be honest, though, they were lucky to be even in beta bracket last month. They originally only qualified for Gamma, but got bumped up due to other teams dropping. But having won both Gamma and beta bracket in their team's history proves they know how to play well on Sunday when it matters the most. We just need them to actually do enough on Saturday to qualify for Alpha first. But if they do that, they're a consistent Saturday-Sunday team. It just depends on what bracket they find themselves in. Number 6. Tyrant Inc. arguably had the best weekend of every team that played in both the Ash Cup and Minnow Cup, and didn't even win either of those tournaments. Instead, they finished tied for 3rd in Minnow Cup on Saturday and 4th in Ash Cup on Sunday. That is consistency. In fact, Tyrant Inc. is quickly becoming the most consistently improving team in the entire lower level community. And the main reason for this is because they have been signing up for every tourney that will allow them to play. I keep telling you guys, low ink is the final exam each month to show how much you have improved during that month as a team. And if you're not happy with where you finished, whether it be alpha or gamma or whatever, the best thing you can do is play in as many tournaments as you possibly can. Tyrant Inc. has been doing that, and it is paying off for them big time. Now, they need to play better on Sunday. Last month, they got eliminated in losers round 2 of alpha, but I expect them to play much better this time around since they showed this past weekend that they can be really good on Saturday in Minnow and really good on Sunday in Ash Cup. And I feel like they're a much better team than they were a month ago, and I expect them to be even higher up on my list next month with the rate that they are improving if they don't win this tournament and get banned altogether. Number 5. Speaking of teams playing in tournaments outside of low ink and finding success, the Ravenous Raccoons have done just that. They played in the Xanadu Tournament Series and took the bronze medal, defeating Persistence 4-1. They also made top cut in Ash Cup 6 on Sunday. A nice month for a team that took 4th place in low ink last month. The problem is the teams that are in front of them on this list are teams that they are really good. We're getting into some teams that are really good right here. This low ink is more stacked than it was last month. So another 4th place finish or higher for the Raccoons here would speak volumes for them. And they have proven they can do that. Again, the 4-1 win against Persistence in XTS being the main piece of evidence I point to for that. I said last month that the October low ink was a statement tournament for Persistence. It's the Raccoons' turn this month. This will be the month where we see how they can handle these new up-and-coming teams, and if they can hold their spot, hold their ground against them, while at the same time finding a way to knock off teams that have been traditionally finishing above them in tournaments like this. Who the Raccoons have traditionally struggled against. Who the Raccoons really are is who we're going to find out in this tournament. But definitely a team that can win it. If you can beat Persistence 4-1 in any tournament, then you are definitely a team that can do it in low ink as well. They dropped? Really? It said 4-1. Did they not take a game off you guys? Well, wait, fine. Well, I'm moving you guys. You guys are now down from number 5 to number 8. No, I'm just playing. You guys are still good. You guys can still beat Persistence, obviously. It said 4-1 though, so I assumed it was an actual set. Unless they just beat you guys one game and then decided to drop and just gave you the other 4. Whatever. Raccoons are number 5. They're a good team. We played a match, then they had to drop apparently. That sucks. Number 4. I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. Valhalla has only played in one tournament. That's it. Ash Cup 6. And they didn't even win it. Coming in second place. So why would I bring in a brand new team and place them at number 4 on this list above the Raccoons and above a bunch of other teams that have actually played in low ink and have a lot of skill and talent to win low ink? It's because they had the most jaw-dropping second place finish of any team in any lower level tournament ever. They played teams that really had no business playing in Ash Cup, sweeping Stargaze 3-0 and only losing to Luau 3-4 in grand finals in a decisive game 7 that really could have gone either way. They very easily could have beaten Luau in that tournament, but they didn't. Throw in 2 more dominant wins against Infinite and Takibi, and you can tell just from one tournament alone that Valhalla is a front runner to win this low ink. Now, I say this is a new team, which is technically true, but the players on this team are anything but new to competitive Splatoon. You have Wug and Turd. Why is your name Turd? From recently disbanded Revitalize, a team that has more Top Cut experience appearances than any other team in low ink history. Ludic, I believe that's how it's pronounced, from Dragon Eels, and Foxy from Sushin Era. So you have a collection of talented Div 4-ish caliber players here. And a collection of players that have a lot of alpha bracket experience. The only knock against them, of course, is that they just have one tournament up to this point. This low ink will give us a better indication of where Valhalla stands in the grand scheme of things in the lower level community. But if they play as strongly as they did in the Ash Cup, this may be their second and only other time we see them in a lower level tournament, period. They're that good. It's time for the top 3. Hello, Carrot. Number 3. The Sea Boys haven't played in low ink since August, but have made a return to the lower level tourneys this month, winning Minnow Cup last Saturday. But don't forget, they also came within one game of defeating the West Broadway Grillers in the Xanadu Tournament Series earlier this month. Well, I guess technically not this month, but the October 31st of last month. And arguably could have won that if they didn't DC 4 times in that set. And that's really the main thing holding them back is just connection issues. I mean, you could say that about a lot of teams, honestly, but Sea Boys are a really good team that's just been held back from bad internet. Now, if they can stay connected, then they will be a contender based off of what they've shown in these two tournaments alone. And the good news is, during Minnow Cup, we didn't see any connection issues at all. They seem to be going just fine, which is a great news for them heading into this tournament. Forget the fact that the last time we saw them in low ink was when they won beta bracket in August. And they only have one alpha bracket win all time, which was back in July when they were known as Mukuna. So not a lot of alpha bracket experience. But whatever they've been doing since August has really worked out for them, and they've proven that they can be a top contender for the low ink crown. I would be really surprised if by the time Stu and I are commentating on Sunday, which is usually winners finals onward, that I'm not commentating Sea Boys at some point. I would be really surprised. Sea Boys scare you? Yeah, I've seen they've been picking on you guys in the past couple of tournaments. Poor ITAP. Number 2. Port Raccoon hasn't played in any tourneys outside of the ones in the German leagues they play in since the last low ink. So it's hard for me to gauge how much they've improved this month. But let me remind you of what they did last month when they took the bronze medal home in Alpha. They beat Labyrinth X, the Raccoons twice, Squid Knights, winning 5 decisive win or go home games. 5 on Sunday. That means they played in 5 matches that went the whole distance, and they found a way to win that last game that was win or you get eliminated. They did that 5 times on Sunday. That is a sign of a team that is mentally tough and doesn't give up. So often we see a really strong team who looks like a contender on Saturday, but then they take an awkward loss on Sunday against a team they really have no business losing to and enter the loser's bracket with a defeated mindset and immediately get eliminated by a team on paper that's far below them. Port Raccoon, however, showed last month that they can avoid that and knows how to play the match, not just the game. I think the main problem last month that they ran is that they ran out of gas on Sunday. Playing in 6 full matches, 6 in a row, left no time for breaks in between sets, and just ran into a fresh, persistent squad that was more than capable of dealing with them. But other than the number 1 team, the few low inks that Port Raccoon have played in, they have shown that they are consistent on both Saturday and Sunday, which is something we rarely see out of any team. And Port Raccoon, 2 tournaments ago that they played in, had played on Saturday. They had I believe this was the August low ink. They have the record for the highest opponent win percentage ever on a Swiss Saturday at 80%, meaning that they have played the toughest schedule of any low ink team in the history of low ink, and they went 5-1 on that in that tournament on Saturday. So Port Raccoon, obviously a really strong team, and even though I personally don't know what they've been doing since last month, they're still a number 2 team here on this list. They could have taken the whole month off, and I still would have put them this high on the list. They are that good. Now, number 1. Oh. Whenever I do a tourney recap, and I mention highlights for other teams, I usually end up saying, the only team to beat them was Persistence. There's a reason for that. Persistence is pretty damn good. But you get the sense that this is now or never for Persistence. Neo, their cracked Slayer, is now a free agent, but reports are that he will still play with Persistence this month, and that's a really good thing. Not because Neo is the carry of the team or anything like that. Um, but Neo playing allows Persistence to share the same notable feature that the past 4 low ink champions share, and that is a consistent roster. Stormy, Inky, or Ink Uwu, Sora, and Neo have been a really strong lineup for Persistence lately in low ink and several other tournaments outside of low ink. Another reason why I say this is now or never is because there's just way too many stronger teams coming up now. Persistence had a perfect Saturday last month, going 18-0, the first team ever to go 18-0 on a Saturday, and finished second in Alpha Bracket, only losing to the champion Splatter Swim. Splatter Swim being the only team that could beat them last month. That won't happen this month. There are too many teams here that can both hang with and beat Persistence on Saturday or Sunday. But if you follow the blueprint of the current low ink champions, Persistence is the only team that has the level of talent, experience, and synergy needed to win this tournament. They'll just have to do it now, because that won't be the case next month when all these strong up-and-coming teams get another low ink under their belt, get another month of synergy that they can grow. But now that Revitalize is no more, Persistence is the face of low ink. When you think of low ink, you think of Persistence first. That's the first team that comes to your mind. So they need to win this now. The window is closing. But this is the last, I wouldn't say the last chance, but this is the best chance low ink has had in a long time to put this tournament away. And I guarantee you, the casual fan wants to see Persistence win this one. Not because they're tired of seeing them, but they've come so close so many times. They've always been the bridesmaid. But this month, I am projecting, of every team that signs up here, Persistence is going to be the one I expect to finally get married here. $10 on C-Boy's Valhalla girlfriend? What? Persistence Valhalla Grand Finals. I could easily see that for sure. Now, like I said last month, if you don't agree with something I've said, prove me wrong. And I will start off next week's episode with an apology to every team that I got wrong or just completely screwed up on. But for now, I'm done talking. 2 episodes in 1 week. Honestly, not as difficult as I was expecting this to be. But we're going to see if... Let's go see if... By the way, Blue is still streaming. She is. So let's go right there. Hey, if you... Oh, wait. You double-checked the Persistence set? It was 2-1 in Ravenous Raccoon's favor. Okay, well, there you go. See, you beat them. You're justified. Before they dropped. Okay, good. Then I was right all along. Unless I wasn't. If you would like to be a part of the Popcast in any way, if you want to send me information about your team, as the Kraken Warriors did, I really appreciate that, Kraken Warriors. I didn't know you guys had a Twitter. If you have a team Twitter, feel free to send that to me as well, because I like to follow as many team Twitters as I can. It helps me keep up to date when I do research on you guys. But you can reach me. Discord, hashtag Popgun, hashtag 5882. Twitter at Mr_Popgun, Twitch at Popgun25, YouTube at 25Popgun. If you're looking for VODs, I keep them on Twitch for 2 weeks only, because I'm lazy, and I upload these to YouTube. So if you want to catch any of the episodes of the Popcast, you can see them on YouTube. The teacher is always right. I'm not a teacher. I'm a yeller. I'm the old man on top of the mountain who a select few listen to. But if you listen closely, sometimes I might say something that's somewhat accurate.